swear they change that music every week. I never used that music. Welcome back, everyone, once again to another Trotec Laser Live. We are so happy to have you with us here. I am joined again this week by Gabe and Ron. Pardon me, let me use their government name. Laser Gabe and Laser Ron. How are you, gentlemen?
Good. We're good. Excited for another Trotalk webinar with some Trotec experts.
Yeah. Well, when are they arriving? Obviously, once again, we are always so glad to have the opportunity to do these, to chat with you guys. If you have any questions at all as regards the subject of the webinar today, or basically anything Trotec, please don't hesitate to toss it in the chat. We'll be very happy to try and answer it as best we can. I'm going to launch us in here pretty quickly, though, this week. I love giving a chance for everybody to join in, but we have a lot to cover, and I think we have some really, really cool stuff to show. You might notice a camera over Gabe's shoulder there, and I'm going to kind of bury the lead a little bit. That's the one. We're launching Tro cameras. No, I wanted to start us off with a presentation here that we've put together to give you guys a sense of what we want to talk about. We are launching some new machines. They are old machines, but new machines. I don't know if you guys can help me out here. How do you best describe these?
Updates to existing platforms.
Yes. Some consistency to the line. Yeah.
Yes, some consistency. That's a great way to put it. We're very excited to talk about the new Run on Ruby versions of our 100 and 300 Speedy systems. If you already have a Speedy in your workplace, this is definitely a very, very cool option when you're looking to upgrade or update. And if you've never looked at a Speedy before, now is a great time to jump in, because these are some really, really cool machines with all the old classic Speedy stuff that you love, but with also some new cool features. So without too much delay here, maybe let's jump right in. I'm going to share this presentation with you all. Let's see here.
There it is. Hey.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Thank you. Like you said, the experts are here. So let's start off with the Speedy 100S. What's new? And you can see it a little bit in that image there. But at the top right, there are some brand new add-ons and stuff. I want to focus first, though, on what's inside. It's the smart electronics. Ron, you might know a little bit more about this. Do you want to talk a little bit about how the smart electronics changes the functioning of the machine? We're talking about the hardware that's inside the unit itself here.
Correct. Yeah. So it's fundamentally it's a generational leap over what we've used previously in our systems. Many of our customers may have a couple of different versions of the Speedy 100 or say the Speedy 300 and so forth, where they've had different electronics, and this is just the next generation. The next generation does enable us to do a lot of great things, and a lot of it has to do with our ability to troubleshoot and diagnose issues when they arise, much easier than we have been able to do previously. A lot easier to do firmware updates, software updates, and also to be able to get a nice status of what's going on with the system when for whatever reason, see the door open, see what your exhaust is doing, and be able to actually have that information available to you quite easily, which we'll show later. So.
Yeah, 100%. And I should say that level of integration with the software is kind of the next thing on the slides here. You can see the little touch screen on top there, but this machine is going to be fully integrated with Ruby in a way that our 100 wasn't previously, which gives us access not only to, as Ron is saying, a lot of diagnostic information, a lot of things that are going to help us draw out the best performance for you, but then also will allow you to kind of integrate it into an easier, more seamless workflow than you might have had previously with the machine. And also a very small thing, but something that I'm excited about, the laser head and the lenses match all of the other bigger brothers in the Speedy family, which we'll be able to show you kind of more up close here in a minute, but is a really cool add-on for the Speedy 100. It always had that kind of floating optic system, and now it's pulled in line with everybody else. So capping off on some of what Ron was just saying, I think the big thing, as Ron said, is that, that added kind of technology, that added kind of smart system, it doesn't change necessarily a ton about how the machine operates. So if you're already used to running a 100 or a 300, the overall workflow is going to stay very similar, apart from obviously its added Ruby integration. But it's going to give you a lot more possibilities on the side of extracting the absolute best out of the performance from it. And there's a lot of diagnostic tools and different, measurement data, as it says, that will allow you to kind of get the best out of it. I don't want to pause on this too long. Obviously, I invite you to revisit the presentation in the future at any time. But if you'd like to learn more about the smart systems specifically and what they might bring to your application, I hope you won't hesitate to reach out to your local Trotec. One point on here, though, I did want to ask you guys about. When it talks about automatic adjustment of extraction power, are we talking about integration then with the pure systems, with the Atmos systems? Is that what we're implying there?
Yes, correct. So it with the pure system, it's using a EtherCAT. It's basically an Ethernet connection, just used. That's a term for machinery. But to communicate directly with the exhaust, we can control the exhaust flow both from just our touch panel, but also in our material settings as well. So some material settings may not require as much exhaust, or it may actually be detrimental to use too much extraction to the process you're trying to do. And you can, in that material setting, control the exhaust flow and lower it. And that's all part of that smart electronics integration.
Awesome. And then I feel like Run on Ruby doesn't need any introduction. If you guys aren't familiar with the Run on Ruby system, again, I would really invite you to come in and check it out. We're going to show you some really cool applications of the Run on Ruby a little bit later in the webinar. But I would like to sort of ask Gabe, with some of the other webinars that we've been doing, I mean, obviously you're getting to be a local expert on the Run on Ruby systems. I'm curious how you find that having that kind of Ruby integration and kind of moving jobs around the showroom. I mean, can you talk a little bit about like why you like the new kind of smart systems, the new Run on Ruby systems, as opposed to maybe some of the more classic setups?
Yeah, I think it's good, to finally get these machines all kind of synonymous with each other. And we're going to touch on the integration a little more later, but everyone wants the newest technology. Being able to have this kind of separate computer within your system is going to be beneficial to people who are going to be running, a high volume amount of things. In my limited time as a sales rep, one of the conversations I would have with people, they would want a 360 or a 400 because of the Run on Ruby. Dynamic to it, but maybe they didn't either have the volume to justify something like a 400, or even more importantly, and you run into this more, they didn't have the workspace to be able to have a machine as big as something like a 400, whereas the 100 made a lot more sense. It was something that could fit a lot easier, but now you're sacrificing that technology a little bit when you would go down to that. Now that's no longer the case. So I think that's a really big benefit to just have all these machines very similar across the board.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's actually a very, very good point too. It's a really unique opportunity for businesses of all sizes to kind of make the best out of our Run on Ruby systems. And as you said, kind of some of the integration that they permit. Question here from Timothy, kind of touching off on what we were just talking about. Is it capable to adjust the airflow or just the exhaust? So I believe when we're talking about, the smart integration of the airflow with the pure systems here, I'm not sure if the boys might be frozen. I'm all alone. That's all right. That's all right. I'm happy to handle it. So what the system allows you to do, because the Atmos and the Run on Ruby systems are built by Trotec, they allow for a greater integration between the two in order that you can kind of set up some pre-existing airflow. So specifically the airflow of the exhaust, how much power you want to dedicate coming through right in the material setting. So if you're doing a particular plastic, acrylic, whatever it might be, you can preset up to whatever the optimized airflow, there they are, whatever the optimized airflow is for that specific thing. I don't know if you guys could hear me, but hopefully I did a good job of summarizing that.
You did
sorry to leave you on an island there.
Yeah.
No, that's totally fine. That's totally fine.
We're apparently having some spotty Wi-Fi in here today, and not enough Ethernet connections in the wall to plug into. So
this is where we need that EtherCAT, man. This is where we need that EtherCAT. Yeah. But again, I want to thank you guys for the great questions. I will not bury the lead anymore. I'm really excited about this. I would love if we could actually show the 100, the brand new 100 to you guys.
Sure. Yeah. Here you go. Oh, of course, that's not updating either, is it?
That's fine. That's fine.
All right, that's fine. So yeah, Speedy 100. There we go.
Here she comes.
We're actually not going to turn this system on today because actually this one's already been purchased. And it is, so I don't want to cause any harm or any foul play to somebody's brand new machine, but we do have it here on display so we can show it. So you can see that we do have the new touch panel here, which is part of that onboard computer, as well as when we open it up, you're going to see the laser head, which is, again, just like Don was mentioning, is the 300 style, same as the 300, 360, 400, uses the same lenses. It's far easier to clean the optics with that laser head, which is one of the big benefits to that. Also, with the old laser head, we can only get a 1.5, 2, and a 2.5 inch lens. Now you have all the optics that were available on any of the other platforms. So you can go up to a 4-inch focal length lens, 2.5, 2, 1.5, all the fiber options if you have a flex system. So,
one thing too, I think, also kind of tipping our heads to where the later half of the webinar is going. We're going to show you what I think is a really, really cool integration for a smaller business. But you should also know that as your business grows, maybe if you start with a Speedy 100, to Gabe's point from before, if you start with a Speedy 100 or 300, and then you want to grow into a 360 or 400, you have the possibility to simply repurpose those same lenses, right? I mean, you can share them across multiple projects, multiple areas, whatever it might be. Question for you. So in terms of precision, then, any sort of the performance of the actual machine, that stays identical, I assume. We're still the same level of precision as the previous head would have given, just a greater dynamic range of lenses you can equip it with.
Exactly, yeah. The performance as far as maximum speed and acceleration with engraving and cutting is identical to the previous platform, which as far as technicians and so forth are concerned, we call that the 2015 electronics system. And then the ones that are older than that, both the 2015 and the new smart electronics are performance, higher performance than the original electronics that came in the 100.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I should also say, if this is your first time seeing a 100, Gabe, I don't know if you want to kind of walk us through what the specs of the machine are. I mean, we didn't talk about how big it is, the wattages that are available with it, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. You can still hear me over here, I'm assuming, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Yeah. I mean, the Speedy 100, your classic 24 by 12 working area. I don't know if I could maybe want to move it a little closer. Something like, yeah. The camera's a little too tall for me, if you could notice our height discrepancy. So it's a good thing I have Roger. But yeah, you got your 24 by 12 here. I believe these machines still come in 45 and 80 watts. Again, great for a lot of your basics. Like some of the stuff we're going to be doing today involves leather. It's going to be great for that. But yeah, that's going to be your standard, dimensions there and power levels.
Yeah. Well, and that 24 by 12, the reason I definitely want to talk about it is that is probably one of our most popular setups for materials, right? That's just a classic quarter sheet of Trolase or acrylic or whatever you might be using. Do we want to move over and show the 300 as well? Maybe if this camera is being a bit of a jerk, maybe I could swap over to the other camera here and see if there is the 300. And as you guys can see, it has some of the same cool, fancy features. This is the one also we're going to be using for the cool application we wanted to show you guys. But just to quickly run through this in the same basic way. So still the same 29 by 17 working area, 29 by 17 inches. Still available with the same kind of dynamic range of wattages, all the way up to 120, I believe. This machine will do everything, either CO2 or is available in a flex configuration. So all the way, all your different fiber configurations, that kind of thing. And also has that beautiful touchscreen, even a little bit bigger than the one on the 100, if I'm not mistaken.
They're actually the same size.
Same size?
They're reduced size from the 360 and the 400.
Okay.
Yes. The 100 and the 300 have the same touchscreen. They also have a full standard keypad, which is the same keypad they previously had, unlike the 360 and 400, which the keypad's integrated with the touch display. So, you can have, whatever you think about that or whatever it is. I personally like it because some of the buttons that I lost from that integrated touchscreen and keypad, I still have with this one. So
I don't tell anyone, but I agree with you 100%. I really like having the keypad as well.
Yep.
Not that I don't like the touchscreens. I think the touchscreens add a lot, but again, where I think these machines really shine. I mean, everybody knows already that the Trotec performance of the machine is the best possible. Where the machine really shines is in that Ruby integration that Gabe was talking about, right? That ability for multiple users to access the machine. So I'm going to run through a workflow really quickly here, and I want you guys to correct me if I'm wrong. In a previous 100 or 300, if you had a classic 100 or 300 and you were running Ruby and you wanted to be able to connect remotely, you would have to have not only the machine, but also the PC USB wired into it turned on and running in order that one of your remote users could join, whether it's a student or a designer or a fellow coworker, whatever. Yeah, with this new machine, all you need is that the machine is up and running, right? Because there's like an inbuilt computer right in the machine itself.
Correct, and it has to just be on your local network.
Right, that's exactly right. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. In terms of your ability to sort of, well, I don't know if we want to jump into the workflow right away. I am pretty excited to show this, but as a last step, if this is somebody's first time seeing Run on Ruby, you are still able to use a PC that's connected. You don't have to do designing on the touchscreen. I want to make that very clear that, you know, your use of Ruby can still be on whatever device is most comfortable for you as an operator.
Yeah, the basic functions of the touchscreen are just going to be your basic controls. You can, without running a job, you can turn the exhaust on, turn on air assist, and then. But the main focus is for you to be able to view your job queue, select what job you want to run, delete jobs if there's something you don't want to run, or select the job you would like to run, and have some controls over that. Right. That's the main function of that touch display. Otherwise, you would be designing either from another PC, or you can design within another software, or I don't want to allude to too much about what we might be doing, but you can design not completely somewhere else on the planet if you'd like. So.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was kind of where I was hoping we could lead into. One thing that I want to make this very clear from the beginning. Today we're gonna show off the 100 and 300. The 300 in particular here, as you can see, is already kind of preset up with some cool coasters that I think you mentioned are in leather, right? In leatherette?
Yes.
Yeah, leatherette.
Awesome. Okay. So this is going to be kind of a new thing for us. It's going to be kind of a neat thing, but it is something, again, I want to be very clear. What you're about to see in terms of this workflow is available on any of the Run on Ruby machines. So although we are making kind of a real point of showcasing the 100 and 300 today, and again, if you have any questions about the 100 and 300, or if you're just joining, toss them in the chat. Even if we're talking about the workflow side, I hope you won't hesitate to ask us. But at the same time, I want to be sure that it's clear that any Run on Ruby machine can do the workflow we're about to show you. So help us to preface this. One of the things that I think doesn't necessarily get talked about with Ruby in terms of its integration with the machines is, yes, you internally can use it. If you are a sign shop, let's say, who has their designers on the 3rd floor of your building and your machine is on the 1st floor, the ability for your designer to jump on the machine and send you a file without having to put it on a USB stick, bring it down 2 flights of stairs, go back up the 2 flights. I need to exercise more, I guess, is what I'm telling you, because I'm afraid of climbing 2 flights of stairs. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily speak to how your customers might integrate with Ruby, right? And it's something that we really want to kind of prioritize and show that you shouldn't be afraid of giving your customers a little bit of access and maybe using it as a way to streamline what you're already doing. So I don't know if you guys want to talk a little bit about, what the genesis of some of this was, or the type of business, we have in mind when we're kind of concocting this idea.
Just business. So you just mean business in general that would utilize something like this?
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking about what would be the type of customer that you might suggest this type of integration to?
Similarly to what we've been doing before, just a lot of promotional products, customization, like any business that's going to be having their own customers submit their own designs, and then you're going to be running them. For example, yesterday I went on Amazon actually to do a hat. And it's going to take a whole month to get there. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. But it had me thinking about exactly what we're going to be doing here today, where I'm just going to drop a design similarly into a queue, and we're going to see how it turns out. So anyone with that kind of workflow, I'd say, especially with a higher volume, where they want to eliminate some steps, that's really the biggest thing that we're going to be showing, is just simplifying the whole entire process, which in my opinion was already pretty simple. And we're going to even reduce those steps by a couple more today.
Yeah. I think that's very well said. Yeah. If you are a customer who is making items either where your customers are pre-selecting from designs that you've pre-made, or you're allowing them to submit their own designs. I think this is something you're going to be really, really excited about. Also, to quickly address the question here from the chat, do you have to design in Ruby, or is it compatible with other graphics programs? Ron, I think you covered this a minute ago, but if you want to touch on it again real quick.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's compatible with just about any graphics program that you'd like to use. When we do demonstrations, I often do customer demonstrations in here, both virtually and in person. And what I usually like to tell people, they always ask me, well, what kind of files can I bring? I tell them, just bring them, because chances are you're going to be able to drop that file directly into Ruby, no matter what format it's in, with very few exceptions. So as long as it's a two-dimensional graphic of some kind, whether that's vector-based, bitmap, doesn't matter, and it can be, PDF, it could be a direct CorelDRAW or an AI file. You can have a DXF. We have better DXF integration now than we did previously for those that may have tried DXF maybe, let's say, 6 months ago or even a year ago. It works way better now. So
I can confirm.
It's kind of like just, we'll integrate with tons of them. You can design in Ruby, but there's limitations. It's not really meant to replace another graphics program, just to give you some additional capability from within your laser control software.
Yes, 100%. I should also say too, that's a nice point you make. The workflow you see today is kind of a version 1, and we're testing some things out. But it, alongside Ruby, is always in constant development. So, when you start working with Ruby, this is something where we're constantly updating and changing and adding new features. It's something that we want to hear from you. If you're a Ruby user, we want to hear from you. What are the features that you'd like to see added to the software in the future? And, we're open to those suggestions. Speaking of dropping in a file, though, I have, over on my screen here, I'm going to show you guys, I have a Dropbox link. Let me show you here. That's showing up?
There it is. I'm seeing it.
Yeah. So for anyone who isn't familiar with Dropbox, Ron, I don't know if you can give a 5-second description. Basically, it's just an online file repository, right? So that you or similar to like a Google Drive kind of idea.
Exactly. It's very similar to a Google Drive and so forth. It's kind of one of those you pick your poison kind of thing. There's a lot of different options out there. Dropbox is just one of them. We're utilizing it as just a simple way to have a link that you can drop a file into from just about anywhere, as long as you've been sent the link, and it'll populate a folder. And what is done with a file that's dropped in that folder is what we'll see next.
Yes. So I want you to imagine that your customer is coming to your website, and they have a design that they would like to put on a custom coaster. And in the past, you might have had to receive that file from them by email, set it up in order that it's the proper size, the proper resolution, everything is ready to go, and then set up your laser and run it on the leather in this case, let's say. In this case, I want to show you something kind of cool. So I'm going to click to add a file from my computer. And I am going to pick a picture of my dog because I love my dog. There we go. And I'm going to click upload. And so it's just uploading the file. Less than it left. There we go. All right. Done so. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And now, if our Wi-Fi is going to be generous with us, gentlemen, what should we be expecting to see on that side?
Well, double check here, but it should have. Make sure that everything is functioning.
Oh, and I should thank also our producer Corey in the background, who has dropped the same link to the Dropbox file in the chat so that you guys can have access to it. If we can get the Wi-Fi to cooperate with us here, I think it is going to be a pretty cool thing.
That is definitely what we were struggling with. So the machine itself is actually plugged in, but the computer that the folder exists on is on the Wi-Fi.
No, don't sweat it. Well, so let's talk through the workflow then. So what are we going to see once it shows up?
So what we've set up is, and we can actually, if we can share, let me actually share my screen here. So
yeah, where you're running Ruby, I assume.
Correct. So I'll share that, and So this is just the basic, screen of Ruby and so forth, where we have a profile created. That profile is based on our leatherette coasters, and it has some just basic, it's linked to material settings, some basic positioning information to resize and so forth. Not, several options, but not too many that we needed to set up in order to make this work. We have a set Z position so that it'll always be in focus when we go to run this for the material. Oh, there it comes. Somebody sent a file, actually. It looks like your dog picture might not have come through, actually, there, Don.
No.
So we have one. Somebody sent a cactus makes perfect.
Awesome.
Yep. So we could definitely use that. So I'm not sure what's wrong with your dog picture there. It must not, Laser must not be a fan of dogs today. Maybe it's more of a cat.
That's all right. Customer, viewers more important. Viewers more important.
So,
but I really quick, I want to double that. I interrupted you. I apologize. You were talking there about profiles, and I just want to touch back on that really quick because I think it is a really important thing. These setup things that you've put together here are the same sort of questions you would always be thinking about if you were setting up a job regardless, right? For a customer, whomever. The Z height of your laser, it's the boundary box for the size of a file you want to put given the size of your coaster. What are the other things here? Maybe I'll zoom in this screen, but what are the other things that you're filling out there?
We just define a material setting, and material setting is just, power, speed. There's some other factors as well, but for the most part, usually you don't have to worry too much about them. But this is going to be locked in. The positioning with the boundary box, I've told it that I want whatever image comes in, I want it to fit inside of the box that I've defined with an upper left and a bottom right corner. And then I could tell it if I wanted to just send it directly to my queue. Do I want it to just create a job, or do I want it to save it as a design, or do I want it to do all three? Whatever the case may be. In this case, I'm only going to have it sent to queue. So as far as we're concerned, right now, the Ruby screen, aside from getting this set up to run, is not a part of the equation anymore. This is going to have files that are going to come directly into this. I've actually already seen we've received a few already. So
awesome.
We'll be able to run some. So that's all that is. The only other part of this process is we have to define a mapping of where this is going to go. So we've used a profile, leatherette coasters, and I've mapped it to the folder I want to use, which is my Dropbox folder. That now defines that folder as being a hot folder, so to speak. So any file that the profile will understand what to do with, so pretty much any graphics file is going to take it and it's going to import it and put it directly to the queue based on what we've set up in that profile. And that's it.
Yes.
And it's otherwise ready to go. So at this point, we would no longer need to concern ourselves with Ruby or anything going on there. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and close my lid. And I don't know if you can even see this small screen here. I'll try to get the camera closer, but you said we have a few files that have already come through. And we're going to go ahead and run some of these. So
awesome.
Yeah. And,
but I want to hit that again just as we start running these. So all we did was you uploaded a file, or hypothetically in the situation, your customer would upload a file to a Dropbox link or a hot folder of some respect. Based on the way that they upload it, it gets assigned to a certain profile. In this case, we have the one set up for leatherette coasters. But if I'm not mistaken, you could have multiples, right? You could have one set up for, wood, one for leather, however your particular product mix was set up.
Correct. And then you would just map a different folder for each profile so that if you had an Etsy store, set up and you maybe had 5 different products, there would be a link for each product that a customer would upload the graphic that they would like to have on there. And from that upload link, it would then populate, that specific profile and put it directly into the queue. Or again, however you define you want to do that. If you want it to just go into Ruby so that you can look at everything first before you have it go directly to the queue, you can do that as well. But there's a lot of ways to handle it. But yeah, we have it set up to go directly to our queue here, and all I have to do is now tell the laser to run. And
please.
Yeah.
See, this is why I really like what you were saying earlier, Gabe, is I think it really drives home, regardless of what size of laser you're using, but anybody who has their customers submitting a job, whether it's designs that you have pre-made or your customers are submitting their own files, apparently not dog photos for whatever reason, Wi-Fi doesn't like that one, but apart from that, you know, it seems like a great fit, right? It seems like a natural fit.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I just want to say this, a lot of this is pretty new to me as well. I've had Ron been kind of coaching me through this all week. That's why I'm kind of like the sous chef here, if you will, just kind of learning. And Don, to your point earlier, you know, just all the updates, all of the new features that, you know, are constantly being explored and being introduced to Ruby is very cool. That it's fun for me to try to keep up with. Yeah, I've never done this before. So just seeing how this works and actually being able to, as someone who's also set up a Shopify shop before, and having that kind of capability to include a link to just drop a file right into the laser from like an external source. I mean, I just think it's really, really cool.
I agree. And I'm glad you mentioned Shopify, because obviously it's a hugely popular program. And so if I'm not mistaken, Gabe, there's a Shopify integration for this process, right? There's no reason, if you're working with Shopify, we can't set this up directly to run with your laser. I think there's a few plugins, but that's something we can help you with.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't done it myself, but I would love to explore going into it more. I know that can be done. Back when I did Shopify, it was a few years ago, so we weren't doing great. But if I did have that ability, that'd be awesome. We can't mirror the camera, it looks like, otherwise everything will be, but I promise you guys it's straight.
Yes. Also, I will say, Gabe and I are in the same boat. We've both been learning about this over the past couple of weeks, trying to figure this out. Ron really is the mastermind of a lot of this, but I assure you that neither Gabe nor I will be ordering custom hats off Amazon ever again once we get this up and running with our...
Nope.
That looks great though, Ron.
Yeah, we've received that. We got several here, so let's see.
More coming in. I'll throw you guys some questions here from the chat as well, as long as we're getting this set up. Quick question here from DNS Wood Creations. Can you use this with OneDrive, like a Google OneDrive?
Sure. I think we've experimented with OneDrive. I think there's a little bit of, if we're working on it. I don't know if it's us that has to work on it or if it's just that we're having issues specifically with Google Drive, but I do know that it works. It was just a little bit more spotty than the Dropbox.
Also, a quick question from John, who also gives you a shout out and said, "What's up, Ron?" So he asked if it has to be a full color. Like, can it be a full color image, like a raster or a bitmap image, or does it have to be a vectorized image? I don't know why my dog file didn't work, but to be honest, John, any image that you would process with your laser should work fine. Same typical rules apply, right? Anything raster will be engraved. Anything vector, hypothetically, I guess you could set up for a cut, but that would be all on your profile side, I presume. Hey, Ron?
Yeah, so we would set up for, I have it programmed in the photo settings on the profile using stuffy dithering pattern, and so it's going to take any color graphics, convert it to grayscale, and use that pattern to define how the laser is going to process that.
I will say, because of the reason it sounds a little distorted there, guys, is the fan is running in the background for the machine, so we're trying to get Ron and Gabe to have to shout over it. But I might ask you guys maybe to lean a little bit into the mic there. I apologize. I really want to see what that beard is made of, Ron. I'm going to try and resend my photo of my dog here too, so that I can give you guys a sense of what a full color, like, oh, that sounds good. Okay. What a full color image might look like. I'm going to pull that up. Get some nice, hello. Thank you for joining us. If anyone is just hopping in, we are showing off our 100 and 300 runner Ruby machines today. And we're also demoing a really, really cool workflow where with a Dropbox link, a OneDrive link, integration through a Shopify store, whatever it might be, you could have your customers submit their own file through a link and have it go directly to the design, the prepare, or the queue of your laser without you having to do anything apart from set up kind of the presets ahead of time that they're submitting to. Let me see if I can zoom in here, because I want to show, for whoever submitted this cool file, I want you to be able to see it as it comes out of the laser here.
Well,
Nice.
Yeah.
Again, I should specify, as Ron was saying there, the settings that you're using are based on the material setting that you pre-assign inside of the profile. So it is going to pre-use whatever you have selected. We put together a quick setting for leatherette this morning. But if you've already, I know you guys have been working with your customers for a long time. Maybe you're doing wood ornaments and you've got a perfect setting figured out for wood. So you don't need to worry about any of that stuff. You know, it's using whatever your preset settings are going to be.
Correct. Yeah, so this is all using the same setting for every single one of these coasters. These leatherette coasters are designed to be a laserable product. So they're, it's pretty straightforward. You can almost use the same setting with all of them. This black one that we're running right now is designed intentionally to come up with a silver finish when you engrave it. So whereas the other ones, you notice they turn black. So, but we're using the same material setting. We haven't changed it. So it does help when you know the material is going to be the same, that you can just use the same material setting on that profile.
Totally. Really nice.
Yep.
Man, that black and silver one is great.
Oh yeah, it's cool.
I gotta get some of those.
I'm serving the role of coaster loader right now. I'm loving it.
You're doing a great job. So one thing I will note too, from a safety perspective, although your customers are able to send jobs directly into the queue, you would still have to be beside the computer to run the laser. It's not something where the laser would be able to kick itself off. You would still have to be next to it in order to start the job. Is that a fair assessment, boys?
Yeah, you still have to actually tell the laser to start the job. And that's a safety thing that we just, the inherent risks with being able to start a laser remotely is something we want to avoid. So somebody does physically have to press a button on the laser in order for it to be able to run.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So quick question here from Timothy, and I will throw it to you guys, or I guess he's asking about profiles having additional like Ruby editing processes that could be strung together in the future. I am curious to hear from you, Ron, about what sort of automation that a profile allows you to do. Like what is the conceit behind profiles, or what are they meant to serve?
So at the moment, the profiles are a little bit more simple than that. You can have it, say, do a step and repeat function with the same graphic and have it fill an area. But again, that's only with the same graphic over and over again. There are still some limitations with it. It is a new function. However, that does not mean that it's not going to be expanded in the future to do significantly more. There are some things that are coming down the pipe that I've heard about. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about, but
secrets.
But it is going to continue to grow and improve, just like Ruby has over these last 2.5, 3 years since we've introduced it. So
it's crazy to me that Ruby is already 3 years old. It seems like yesterday we launched that software. Here, I'm going to pull up the camera a little bit closer here. These are really nice files. Thank you to everybody for submitting your files and your questions through chat. We really appreciate it. Question for you guys here from Cherry, pardon me. Is there a reason why you're engraving in the center of the work area? We normally use the back left corner. Any advantage of placement of the item being engraved?
So we're only actually placing it there just for ease of filming. It's a little bit closer to the camera. This particular camera does not have a zoom feature. So centering it in the machine is just an easy way to be able to film that. And that fixture that we've put in there is just there for the sole purpose of giving us a consistent positioning point to put that coaster in, because the graphic is going to be positioned correctly every single time. We need to make sure the coaster's in the right spot. So
fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to try and send this file. I'm seeing all these really nice coasters come through, and now I'm getting a little bit jealous here. I'm going to try and send my JPEG
we
here
could
again.
use a few more files too. We actually only have one more. Did we get a few others? Oh, looks like we finally got your dog.
Yes. All right. Well, and I just sent him again, so we'll see if he shows up.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to show it because obviously it's a pretty detailed photo, and I want to be able to show that. I mean, although I will caveat in saying photos are tough, obviously, as anybody who's used lasers knows, getting the settings perfect for photos are tough. So I don't expect, perfect resolution, but I want to be able to show what happens with a full color, raster image, just to be able to kind of show it off. A point from Timothy too, and this is one that I've been curious about. Is there any value in using different parts of the X or Y arm? So in order that the bearings don't become stiff or stuck in any particular places, is there any benefit to using other areas, or is it just sort of all across the board pretty safe?
I mean, you should get the same consistent quality no matter where you put your object in the machine. However, from a maintenance and longevity standpoint, it is a good idea to, and this is coming from my days as a technician as well, to kind of make sure you use the whole work area of the bed if you can. We do have a lot of customers that consistently run in the back left corner, and that's fine if that works for your workflow, but you could potentially wear in on your belts and your bearings and so forth, but kind of that area gets a bit more worn out, versus if you use the whole bed, you'll prolong needing to worry about having any major maintenance done on like say your X or your Y axis.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I'm going to throw you a bit of a trick question here, because this is one that I want to ask you and I think might be a bit tough. We were talking about in the beginning how this process would work with any Run and Ruby machine. So obviously the 100 and 300 that we're talking about, but also their big brothers, right? The 360, 400. Is this a process that you could set up if I had a really nice coaster setupper like Gabe, where if he put like 6 coasters along, in an order, would I be able to set multiple jobs along the way, or is it sort of a one piece at a time system as we've got it designed right now?
So at the moment, with the profile, like the workflow that we're demonstrating, you could do a row, but they would be the same right now.
Right.
In the future, I'm sure of this now. This is not one of the things I've heard down the pipe, but I see no reason why this wouldn't be coming. Where as you given some additional parameters that you could define as jobs come in, that they would progressively fill the bed of a set area or whatever the case may be to fill a fixture. There's some of that capability is built into Ruby already. It's just a matter of integrating it into profiles to have it work there as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
The reason I asked too is obviously because if you're a customer who has somebody ordering a set of, let's say, 6 ornaments, right? They might all very well be the same design, but it's just I was curious if you're able to kind of run multiples, in one single shot. Daniel also makes the point here in the chat, and I agree with him totally. So I, for a long time, was a serial top left corner guy, but in terms of being able to line things up, the middle actually is quite a bit easier because it's easier just to see from any side of the laser, regardless of if I'm, on this side, that side, where I am around it. That was a quick one.
Yeah, it turned out so that was actually one of ours. So Mr. Joe Edgerton sent us a very small logo.
We love you, Joe.
And it, if you were curious if it would stretch a very small graphic,
Look at that.
there.
Yeah.
So I apologize that I missed that question here. Let me turn the quiet this thing down here.
No, not at all.
There we go. Hey. So I apologize I missed the question, so I'm happy to answer it.
No, I was just saying that, so Daniel made the point in the chat that setting things up in the middle as part of a workflow process kind of does make things easier to see. And I was just saying that I, for years, was kind of a serial top left guy, but I actually agree. I've started doing the middle for that exact reason. Just in terms of no matter what side of the laser I'm on, it makes it easier for me to kind of survey and keep an eye on how my work is doing.
Yeah.
Question for you, Ron. This is a bit of a out of left field one. That progress bar at the back of the 400?
Yeah.
Does that still exist? Is that still no?
So
okay.
It actually exists on the touch screen display now. So
okay, that's what I thought.
Did away with the LED segmented bar. It was a feature that wasn't long for this world, unfortunately. But I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was great.
I did too.
Yeah, but now and it'd be kind of hard to show it on the small touchscreen, but there is a progress bar on there. But even more importantly than that, actually, in Ruby, there's settings to where when you have a file come over to your queue, it'll show you what the estimated completion time is. If it's run it before, it's actually going to be slightly more accurate, although it's usually pretty accurate anyway. So you know right away how long to expect that job to take. It will count down the timer, or you have it count up. All you have to do is touch the timer and it'll switch between one and the other. And you have a progress bar. So you have multiple ways to look at the screen and tell where it is in the completion of a job.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was sort of what I'm glad you mentioned that. So that has become my go-to. Is I'm often working and doing a few things at once, as I expect many of our customers are, right? So the touch screen, even if you don't have it necessarily lined up in the middle of the bed, you can always look back over at the touch screen, and it's one of those cool kind of Ruby integration features that makes it easy to keep an eye on your work and see how it's going. Yeah. In terms of complexity, so Ron, I know like the two of you guys, Gabe doesn't give himself enough credit, but the two of you guys are very capable. Obviously, you run this giant laser space that we see behind you. In terms of complexity to get this set up, so if I was a customer who was, just installed their new 300, how difficult of a process was this sort of integration? Honestly.
I think it took. We were learning this as we went, and I believe it took me about an hour to get it set up as I was learning it. There were a couple of kinks along the way that afterwards I had to refine it and so forth, and it might take a little bit more time. But and that was mostly just because of my lack of knowledge with just how Dropbox works more than Ruby and the laser. So pretty simple setup.
I guess, is there any application you can imagine this being kind of particularly well suited for? I guess obviously the coasters is one. To my mind, it's anything that is, again, it's rather than application, I guess, in my mind, it's more about that customizability, right? It's about any application where you have a customer submitting their own files or their own designs. I'm just trying to brainstorm here to see if we could maybe, twig off on what might be some other great applications for something like this. But again, for me, it keeps coming back to just anything where customers submitting artwork. It seems like a good fit.
I'll give you a very specific example because maybe as a preview to another webinar we're hoping will come up in a month or two here. But Don, you and I were talking about golf ball markers, custom ball markers. Just in a small circle. If any golfers are out there, I'm just picturing, this is just off the top of my head right now. I'm just picturing, being able to send in that small, and obviously it's a small marker, so the design isn't going to be that big, but usually it's a couple words or a logo or something, and just being able to submit that into a Dropbox, and having that ready to go would be, I think, very, very cool, very convenient.
No, I agree. Gabe and I were talking about ball marker. We often do.
All the time.
No, that makes perfect sense. Do we have the coasters there on standby? Would it be possible to just kind of show some of the ones we did as a quick kind of pass over?
Oh, yeah.
Other than Joe's,
I noticed, other than Joe's, well, Joe can come pick up his tiny one. Yeah.
I like this one. I like the brown here. Although I am colorblind, so if I miscolor a coaster, I apologize.
Yeah.
But I think anyone who's watching will agree. Pretty easy to do.
This is
the
dog that came through.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting. They both actually came through at the same time. So
weird.
Yeah. Also, to be clear, all of these are fresh exactly how they came out of the laser. We haven't done anything to them. What I found earlier as well is if they take a little bit of a solvent and my personal favorite, and I'm not sponsored by them, but if somebody wants to sponsor me for whatever reason, I don't know. LA is totally awesome. It's the best cleaning solvent on the planet I've ever used.
Yeah.
Just a little spritz of that and a microfiber towel. They came out beautiful. In fact, I have a couple that we were testing with earlier, actually. So,
please. Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Detroit basketball, baby.
Yeah.
Ooh, that came out really good.
So, just wiped right off. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
I should say too, Corey was kind enough to drop the link for those coasters in the chat, but I would encourage you. I mean, if this is something that you're interested in doing, try it on different materials too. I mean, as a laser user, you will understand your materials and the things that are most comfortable for you, as well as the settings that you want to use. Really, all we're talking about changing here is just the way in which you feed jobs into your laser. Apart from that, everything else stays exactly the same. Hopefully it makes things more comfortable for you and easier for you. But I could see applications for this in schools and businesses all over the place. Also, Gabe kind of alluded to the fact that we had some more webinars that were planned and in the future. I don't know if we're going to get to do our golf webinar, but I am really, really hoping that the Golfer Sports webinar comes up before too long. But I should say, if you have any questions and you're watching this in the future, or there's a particular topic you'd like to see us cover, I hope you'll toss it in the chat, or you'll toss it in the comments underneath the YouTube video. We're always happy to see those and try and follow up on them. I don't know if that camera on the 100 is still there, but do we want to kind of give one more shot of the brand new 100? I don't know.
Let's take the camera that's working and we'll put it on the 100. How about that?
Heck yeah, let's go. Just to circle right back around here, I'm going to bring this right up here. This is the beautiful new 100S. The S stands for smart, I assume, here, Ron?
Yes.
It would have been smart of me to check that with you ahead of time. The beautiful new 100S and 300S, both using the Runner Ruby systems, like you've seen previously with our 360 and 400. Anybody who's ordering a 100 or 300 going forward, these are the systems you're going to be looking at. As I said, this one is already spoken for. So if this turns out to be your 100, good news. It's famous. But that beautiful touchscreen, everything else stays exactly the same as you've always used it in terms of operating Ruby and all those sorts of things. But I'm really excited about what people are going to do with these new Runner Ruby systems. We're coming up to the top of the hour here, gents, so I think we will start to look at wrapping this up. Again, if you're watching this in the future or watching it now, a huge thank you from our side, as always. If you have any questions, I hope you won't hesitate to drop them in the YouTube comments section. We'll try and get around to those as quick as we can. If you've seen the process today and you're curious about implementing it on your existing Speedy, or you have some other questions about it, whatever it is, I hope you'll reach out to your local Trotec rep, and they'll be really happy to help you out as best they can. We've been doing this here in Trotec North America, but it is something that I think is going to catch on in Trotecs all around the world. And obviously, we will direct any and all questions to Ron. Sorry, Ron, in advance.
That's what I do.
Yeah, me too. Any last things we want to toss in there, guys? Any last thoughts or questions or anything like that?
I think one thing I think, and this is a failure on my part, that there's in order for this process that we've demonstrated to work, there's one additional software download that is required. It's called Job Manager, which is don't let me lie to you and tell you I know exactly where to tell you to get it at the moment, but I do believe it is available from just our standard like mytrotec.com website and so forth. If it's not there already, it's going to be there very soon. That additional software download it, and once it's running, that running in the background enables you to set up the mappings that are required in order to create that hot folder and so forth. So,
gotcha. Okay, cool. Gabe, I look forward to speaking with you about our golf webinar that's going to be coming up very shortly. Oh, I might have lost the boys again. That's all right. There he is. Listen, we can't mess around about the golf webinar. That's very serious stuff. I think last quick question here from Tim, just because I think it is a very good question. Was the Dropbox the open API integration that we were talking about previously? No, I think there will be some more kind of API details coming forward, but we do think it is an exciting enough integration and exciting enough thing that we wanted to show it to you guys and have you start experimenting with it, testing it, and getting the best out of it. So again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again at our next stream, which is in a couple of weeks. I believe it's already been set up, Gabe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. I believe mid-March. We'll get that out to you.
Yes, absolutely. You'll see some emails. Definitely sign up for our emails. You don't want to miss any of these streams. For the time being, thank you, gentlemen, both very much for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us via the chat. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.